I had to get color coded so it looked good. The reason for having you here tonight is since the inception of this club in 2005, they have never, ever done an orientation. That's because the club was so small, it really couldn't focus on all these details, so they did what they had to do to survive, and I get that and I understand it. But since now we've grown from 22 members to 40, and we've got a new member we're going to install at the next meeting. I think in May we're going to install 5, so we're going to get to that 50, I think, pretty close by the end of my term in June. And I want to get to 60, and we're going to talk about a whole situation and try to make it work with 60. The reason you're here is because Kat and Al, for the first time, put together an orientation booklet. Never been done before. And then they created a pamphlet, which the sponsors use, which recently Chris and I met, I think 2 meetings ago after the meeting, and I went over this pamphlet for him to understand what there's out there to be done, what he needs to do, and yada yada. It's just a next step. But this orientation meeting from now on, we're going to hold on a routine basis. We're doing another one in May for another group of our members. And then from now on, it's going to be done probably on a periodic basis, maybe quarterly. But the whole point I'm making is that this is the first time it's been done, so this is a very unique opportunity. You're the first to be in an orientation meeting by the club. What our attempt to do is not to take a ton of your time, but to explain to you a lot of the issues that the club's involved in, to understand you things you may not get told unless I teach you, or Kat, or Al, or Vernon tells you how this thing works. Tonight I'm going to talk about our accounting financials. And I'm going to take you from historically where they are today, which makes it really easy to read them now. So the bottom line is, I'm very thankful you came today to our home to do this. This for the club is a historic moment because it's never been done before. So you're among the first to have this accomplished.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Jim.
So give us a break.
Introduce Betty.
Betty?
Betty's next.
Betty Landis. I've been membership chair for so long that I had the opportunity to interview Betty among most of you here. And Tom Tolson told me the other day that I had interviewed most of you, and I told him he was full of you know what. But I sat down and looked out of the 40 members I've interviewed 30 of them.
Wow.
So it blew me away. I didn't realize I'd done that much. But Betty was a primary cornerstone of a decision to turn the club around. And that was Joe Martinez running for president. Betty was going to be president-elect, but some little political shenanigans went on, and I had to step up to the plate to be both VP and president-elect. We succeeded, won the election. Based on that, during the COVID shutdown, Joe, Betty, and I every Friday met either on WhatsApp or on Zoom to work out all the plans we had to do. That included revamping the Constitution, which I'll explain to you. We had attended a pet seminar.
You're giving my whole speech.
Well, no, I'm not.
So we're going to be really happy.
It's a president-elect. Pets is a president-elect seminar. We went to that, and based on that, we found out there's a number of things we should have done, and Betty, frankly, is the one that did most of the work. I mean, she's amazing what she can do with organization and putting documents together. So, Betty, please.
Okay. Great. I had a 2-page speech, and he just did one of them. Yeah! I thought I was getting up.
I don't know when you showed up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm teasing with you. I joined in 2019, and that's the year that Joe and John and I went in as officers elect. We elect officers in December to take office July 1st. So you have a 6-month orientation training, which is wonderful. And what the 3 of us did was we analyzed the club. The club started in 2005, and it had a constitution and bylaws and all those things, but they were very loose and weak, and you know, it's kind of like laws or bylaws rules. So every time something goes wrong, people do the knee-jerk kick and make another law. And so it was like, holy cow, you know, you couldn't blow your nose because there was a piece of it in the bylaws. Well, we cleaned it up. Our goal was to get this organization a legal entity in Panama because we wanted to end up with donations being tax deductible, and we were not we weren't illegal. We weren't a legal entity in Panama. So we spent every Friday for COVID cleaning up the documents, only to find out that our 20-page Constitution was not Rotary International appropriate. With Rotary International, this absolutely wonderful organized service group, you have the choice to use their Constitution, and to use their Constitution. And the only changes can be you can put in the name of your club and the address. 14 pages, it's their Constitution. Hey, that's a good thing. Their bylaws, you can make alterations to because it's the rules of your club, what your membership needs. And we do have some of those things in the bylaws. So we changed the Constitution to be Rotary approved, got it approved. We went to the bylaws and put in those things that were important here, like we're Americans, we're English speaking, and we're retired, most of us. Some of us are still working, but we travel. I just went back to the States from August to March. Okay, medical reasons, all sorts of stuff. That doesn't negate my membership or my responsibilities to Rotary. So we wrote in extended travel and what you can do for attendance and membership, for that kind of a thing. So that was important to us for bylaws. And we put those types of things in the bylaws. What we did into the club constitution and bylaws, we had all the position descriptions and the policies and procedures. They didn't need to be there. You got to look at the Constitution as a legal document, and it is the document we need to file with our papers to Panama to become a legal entity. You never want to change that legal document because one word, one period, one comma, and you have to start all over and pay all over. So to hear that, oh my God, we got to use the Rotary International one was great. I mean, that was terrific. It's Pat. It's who it's going to be, who we are. But the things that run the organization, the policies and procedures, they can be changed as they need to be changed. And we pulled those out and did them separately and pulled out the position descriptions because at any given time, a president might need one recording secretary to do something the executive secretary does, and it doesn't need to change legally. So we've done that. And that's what I'm talking to you about is what we've got today. Now, before I go on to get into, I'm not going to read you the Constitution and bylaws. You guys should have gotten them. If you don't have them, we'll send them to you. They're to be read at 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep.
It'll put you to sleep.
They will put you to sleep. It's like, who cares? But for you to know that this is a very well-structured organization internationally and locally. We've got that done, and we are working towards it. The board and our attorney, who is a member, Martine Santa Maria, are working very much towards making this a legal entity. It's been 2 years. It's Panama. I mean, it took me almost 8 to get my e-cedula. So it's going to happen. We want that. It's in the process. It's being done. And we've got all the stuff backing it. Okay. So what we've done is separate out the policies and procedures and the job descriptions, which are primarily for the officers. And as Kat said, the 5 officers are elected, but chairmen are at the appointment of the president, and it's the president's pleasure to invite them to be part of the board. Then that's how we run. So the board might be 5 people, which are the officers, and it might be 10, 15 with chair people. That's all up to them. The Constitution's 14 pages long. It's interesting. Go read it free. The bylaws are shorter and they're more specific. But the policies and procedures are what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, and I'm not going through all of them. I picked 2 of them because they're the ones I feel are the most important to you as members. I picked the one for attendance, and I picked the one for projects because we're a service project or organization, so you need to know how we do these projects and what our structure is for them, and bring some to us. That's why you're in here. You know, show up, do things, and bring us ideas that you have. And that's what I wanted to go through. Now, out of all of this, I'm going to start with the but in the middle, go through the Rotary mission statement, which is we provide service to others. I think we all get that. And then they have qualifiers. We promote integrity. We advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace. And we do that through our fellowship, professional, and community leaders. So, bottom line is we provide service, and we do it using all these good things like integrity. Well, to provide this service, we also have to have fundraisers to do that. You know, John's going to talk a little bit about finances and other things, but this is an organization that does service, but we need to also do fundraising to do that service. So those are kind of the 2 things that we do, and that's why I wanted to look at what your expectations are for attendance, because that's providing the service. You know, we want you to show up for stuff. And in the Constitution from Rotary, this one I am going to read. It's not all that long. I'm only going to read half the paragraph. It's Article 13, and it's under duration of membership. It's like duration of membership. Termination of non-attendance. Attendance percentage. A member must, 1, attend or make up at least 50% of regular meetings or satellite club meetings. We don't have a satellite club here. Engage in club projects, events, and other activities for at least 12 hours in each half of the year. That's like 2 hours a month. I mean, you know, it's not much. Or achieve proportionate combinations of both. You can go to meetings, you can do things. We find everybody's doing much, much more than this. But this is in the Rotary International Constitution. Number 2, you need to attend at least 30% of this club's regular meetings or engage in the club's projects and other activities. So the bottom line is, we have 2 meetings a month. You have to attend at least one of them on an average, and this is looked at every 6 months. You have to participate in the service projects. It's a service organization, that's what we do, you know, to show it for some of them. This being said, we're going back to that we're an English-speaking club in a foreign country and we all travel. None of you knew me because I left to go back to the States in August and came back in March. You know, we had health issues and other things we needed to take care of. There is a stipulation in our bylaws that if you're traveling, these requirements for attendance are waived. Okay? Now, the expectation is that you try to go to a Rotary meeting wherever you're traveling. First of all, it's fun. I mean, I tried very hard to go in Peru when I was visiting there. I go back in the States to a local club if I can, because your ambassador's back there, and that's a big help for us. So, this is not to preclude you from traveling or doing what you need to do. It's to say, when you're here, come, we want you. When you're not here, try to go someplace else, because it's really a lot of fun to go meet these other Syrians, other places. But these are your responsibilities to be an active member, not just to pay for dues and go on. Because this club does a lot. I'm going to divert a little bit. In Rotary, in foundations, and in projects, there are two kinds of projects. There's local projects and there's international projects. Because we're here in Panama, we're considered an international project to all the people in the U.S. So they want to know about us. And we are blessed to have a number of U.S. clubs that want to back our projects. So our local projects are international projects to other people, which is really, really neat and great and helps support us. Where other clubs, my little club in Quincy, Florida, you know, they have a hard time doing a turkey shoot to raise a little bit of money to do their local projects. Well, here we can make a couple phone calls to clubs in the U.S. and they would really want to back us. So there's a lot of neat stuff. Okay. Now, there's a policy and procedure for attendance, and when you go and read all of these policies and procedures, there's different styles and different wordings on the job descriptions and the policies, because at the time we developed all of these in 2019, each person holding a job wrote their job description, and each person that dealt with the policy wrote it. So they're a little different, and it's okay. I mean, it's just the basics of what it was at that time. So don't be concerned or think they're, it's just we're developing. It was the first ones we ever did, and we pulled them together. I want to talk now. Do you guys have any questions about attendance or expectations for that? I don't mean to run over it. The bottom line is we want you at stuff. We want you to come do stuff.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. The next thing is projects. That's what we do. What I have done, excuse me, it's all that good food. There is a policy and procedure for projects. I'm going to pass out. We developed 2 years ago a project initiation form and attached to it kind of a critical thinking for how to do projects. Because before this, it was just kind of like, oh, this would be great, let's do it. Do we have $500 to do that? We don't do it that way anymore. We really analyze the project, look for the funding. Let me give you this one. And in our projects, if it's deemed desirable, the president appoints a project manager, and it's only deemed appropriate. I gave it to the members. And it's not that you guys,
No.
You guys, there's more of them. If there's more, you're welcome to them. To be deemed appropriate, you have to fill out this project initiation form. And which is just, what's the need of the problem? What's the mission of the project? Project justification and benefits, the scope of the project, how much does it involve? The quality of it. Also looking at who's responsible for paying for what. I mean, how many times do you start something and you go, you expect me to pay that extra $2,000 for something? You were supposed to do that kind of stuff. All of this needs to be clear ahead of time. You look at the risk, you look at the cost, you have a funding plan. If you don't have money for the project, where are we getting it? We're going to have an analysis for the money ahead of time. And then roles and responsibilities. Who's going to be in charge of it? Who's going to be doing what? So it's, please bring a project, do one of these. Anybody on the board will help you with this. We want projects. That's what we do. We don't expect you to have all the answers to this. We'll help you get the answers to this and do things. But this is what we want to know. This goes to the board. The board analyzes it, asks questions, gets things in order, approves it, and then it goes to the membership. So it's not like you can't talk about it at the membership, but the membership expects it to go to the board and have the concrete behind it before, it goes forward. Okay? So when we look at projects, for what works for us, we look at projects at less than $5,000 and no construction element. Because we've done a lot of construction here and we've learned our lesson. 5,000, no construction, that's easy, we can pull that together. 5,000, over 5,000 with construction and analyzing it. Then we look at a budget of 10,000 in new construction and what needs to be involved in that, what's different in that. Then we look at over 10,000 with the new construction, and those needs. And last and not least in the projects are the ones that get involved with Rotary International and the foundations and the grants.
Yeah.
Our Manchichi project now is a $100,000 grant. Well, ducks are going to be in the row, and we're going to have analysis. So that is much more involved. Obviously, we're glad to do it. We're doing it. We're looking at other things to do. But it's, so we started to put up some procedures and policies to make sure we're getting enough background. I started a project when I became a new member, dove into it, and boy did it change. Because you just haven't done some of these things like a community assessment. And that's as simple as asking people, what is it you need? What is wanted? What is, what I thought was wanted was not what was needed. And it really threw us back to saying, okay, this is what they need. Now let's go towards that kind of thing. So we as a group wholly support the projects. That's why we're here. But we want it to be on solid ground. Okay? Any questions on projects?
Excellent.
Thank you, Betty.
Okay. Next.
Good job.
Next.
Okay, now Al and I are going to talk a little bit about the committees, just what they've been doing, so that you're caught up. I don't know, you don't go to the meetings, so, but everybody else does. But sometimes you just don't really know everything that's going on in depth. So Alan's going to start off by talking about the environmental committee, what they've been doing.
The reason that's important to understand our committee structure is because that's how we get things done. Each committee has a budget, has a business plan, and then they report out against that. There's a committee chairman, and then some committees have larger numbers of members and some smaller. I'm going to speak first to the environmental committee because what we're doing is some of the committees are going to have like chairman, have representatives here, but Kat and I will talk about the ones that don't. So first, the environmental committee has 3 major projects going on, right?
Jeff is co-chair,
Okay.
environmental.
You want to take it from here?
Well, we're going to
Okay.
have
I got to talk about that.
Basically, we've had one activity, which was the new park by the library, the Biblioteca, the one along the river. We had just one day we went over and we planted trees all day. And that was part of our reforestation and that part of the environment. We're working with the Club David on their park, the Armistead Park, which is on the Boquete Rotary highway on the side there, and it has their logo on it. But we're on that, and we're designing some things. We're designing a barbecue sheltered area, and we're working with that, trying to get the budget down and work through that. The biggest thing that's going on immediately here are the recycling stations. Tony Royal has picked that work up, and we built these boxes, metal boxes, and there's 2 types of material in each box. So there are 4 recycling elements in each box. 2 of them are, no. 6 of them are complete, and one of them the mayor's trying to decide where he wants to put them. They've just been in functional for about 2-3 weeks now, and there's some work getting the mayor to get them to get emptied on time, and that, and some people are throwing trash in them, but that'll get worked out. Anything like that takes time. The mayor is paying for half, and we are getting sponsors to pay for the other half. So we're short 1.5 sponsors right now, so it's almost completely funded. So we're very close to getting completely funded, and that's been very well received. There's been a lot of postings on Boquete News if you follow that. So that's what's going on with the environmental committee. The next is the admin committee with Kat and I kind of reconstituted. We joined about a year ago, and John recruited us to be co-chairs of the admin committee. The first major task was something you've seen, which was the new member orientation guide. And it's the first time we've done this, so as recipients of that document, if you have any suggestions, we'd be happy to hear them. Another part of establishing this newcomer social, which again, as John said, is a new activity for us, is to get feedback. What are we doing good? What could we be doing better to help you, to welcome you into the Rotary family? Because it really is, as John found out, it can almost be a family affair. So we now have this. Some of the things we do is we do the greetings and signing people in when they come into the meetings. One thing I would like to encourage each of you to do is to volunteer to join us, one at a time. Let's set it up. So, because it's a great way to meet all the members. So every member who's attending the meeting and the guests, you get to see them, look them in the face, and write their name down, and collect money for those who are going to have the buffet, and that kind of stuff, and hand out name tags, especially to the guests. So it's just a little administrative things. We're kind of we kind of fill in where other committees need help. So we volunteer to help with the socials, with other activities. So we're kind of spare. We're bench warmers. And let's see. That's about it. That's what we do there. Who's next?
I'm on again.
Not you again, Kate.
If we may seem a little disorganized, this is the first time we've done this.
Yeah.
We haven't had a rehearsal. We didn't have any.
Well, we didn't want it to be
dress
rehearsed
rehearsal.
anyway.
And we just got our first shot of the video. That's going to be the first shot of the video. Take that and put it right in the front.
Well, let's see, the next thing on the list is marketing, and actually Randy Cates has jumped in to be head of marketing, which is fabulous. We've only been here, what, a couple of
February.
months?
February is when I part.
So really, he's taken this on full bore, and it's wonderful. But he's still looking for people to help him that have good social media skills. That's not me, but to help him promote the Rotary. We want to get our name out there. And I think it is actually getting out there. A lot of people are asking questions, and they're seeing our, logo all over everything, and that's important. But also, it's our public image. He's responsible for the quarterly newsletter, which Linda Avery's taking over now.
Yes.
Vernon is taking on the Miguel's annual Christmas party, which already happened. And
No, it didn't.
No, it's canceled.
well, that was the kids. No.
The mayor canceled that.
Okay, that's right. Okay, that was right. But maybe next year that will happen. And then they're responsible for promoting all the fundraisers. So that's a big responsibility to promote all the fundraisers and make sure that people are, know what we're doing and what it's for. That's more important. Most people will give money if they know it's for a good cause. If you get it out there and say, this goes for the school scholarships or something like that, you get a lot of people to actually participate then. So anything you want to say, Randy?
Just that I'm excited that we have so many potential projects that everybody seems to be excited about. I really have some great ideas about how to push this out into the city. I've talked to some of you about it. If you guys have any suggestions for me, I will work them into what we're doing. And thanks for the opportunity. I want to prove myself a good person in my position in this committee.
Right, I already said that. So he's looking for people with good social media skills.
Yes.
And
More the
people
merrier.
that can talk to people person to person, not necessarily.
Right, because people do swipe through their phones. They won't they'll kind of look for a second and go. But face to face, you're able to connect with these folks and let them know what we're really doing. Exactly right. You just keep following them. Sir, ma'am.
Okay, so that's for the marketing department. For fundraising, we have Vernon, and he's going to talk to us about all the exciting things he's learned in his experience.
Yeah. Woke up.
Take my seat.
You guys don't know about yin and yang, eh?
The good and the bad.
Yeah, well, kind of serious and more chilled. And I think I'm the yang. So I'm more the kind of guy that is here for.
Dallas, your yang's out.
Hangs out.
I'm fairly new to this Rotary Club. I think I've only been in this club for how long, John? You're the man with the numbers. I've only been in
Last
this club for
June.
3 months, June.
Oh, it's almost a year, come on.
Almost a year now. So when somebody said earlier on, how come you talking? Because you're a newbie as well. And yeah, I'm a newbie. I joined Rotary initially in 1985. I was the youngest South African Rotarian. And for quite a long time, actually. And I was in those days you had to be invited, and you could only have one member representing a profession in the club. And that stems from Paul Harris. You've heard of Paul Harris? Have you? Yeah, he's quite a big name in Rotary. They have a Paul Harris Award. But Paul Harris and 3 of his friends got together in February 23rd, 1905 in Chicago. He was an attorney in Chicago. And he said, hey, called 3 of his friends and said, let's have a lunch meeting. And they got together and they realized that it was nice to get together with somebody else in your community. And it was merely just for fellowship. And they then decided they were going to go to each person's place of work, or they'd go to, I don't know, maybe a restaurant or whatever. I don't know what they did. And that's where the name Rotary came from, because they were going to rotate and go to different areas. And so if you think of how Rotary started, it was really fellowship to begin with. It was like meeting other people in your community, getting on with each other. And then they said, well, what can we do? And they thought, well, we'll get together and we'll do some good for the community, as we all do. We're here for the purpose of doing good. But the yin and the yang's important. We've got to mix doing good with having fun while you're doing good, because if you're not having fun while you're doing something, you won't want to do it,
Right.
anymore. So I think it's very important for us all here to make sure that we have some fun in our club. Yeah, there's the important stuff that Betty was talking about, extremely important, because Rotary's been going, as you can see, since 1905. And I tell you what, it has probably got the cleanest nose of any club that's out there. It's really, you'll never hear of Rotary doing something bad or being suspicious or investigate or whatever, because they have these rules that Betty. So it's important to have these rules and the bylaws and all that sort of stuff. And that's where I'll need a lot of help with, because I think I was saying earlier on to somebody, I don't do well with laws and rules and all that sort of stuff. So as I come into my presidency, I know, luckily I'm going to have John there who's going to keep me on the straight and narrow. I really want all of us here to understand that our club is a fun club, and it's got to be a fun club, and we've got to have some good times doing it. Because if we're going to be doing good, we've got to have fundraising events. We've got to do fundraising. And in this fundraising, we've got to be very clever and careful how we do this fundraising, because you can't keep going handout to your people all the time, because eventually they'll get burnt out. And they're not going to give you any more money, because I gave last month and I gave the month before and the month before, and I'm actually not really seeing much for where my money's gone to. And that's where we've got the importance about the public image or the marketing and so on. We've got to show people we're doing good, and we are going to be working really, really hard on that. And the man over there is going to be doing a lot of that for us. So from the fundraising committee point of view, we need skills, and we've all had these skills. All of us have these skills in getting help from somebody else, asking for it in a nice way. We have many, many other organizations doing good here as well. We've got Animales that I know you guys are very involved with, and they need funds as well. And we've got multiple others we all know about that need funding. And Rotary is just another one of those that needs funding. But fortunately, as Betty was saying earlier on as well, we've got this unique opportunity of where a lot of our funds can come from overseas. And what not many of us realize is that the funds that we get from overseas, we can put our funds with that and get that. We used to call it a matching grant, it's now called the Global Grant, where Rotary Foundation, and that's another story as well, we need to tell you guys about Foundation at some stage, will match that. And they made it even better still. Imagine we put $100 in, we get another club to put $100 in, and we get another one from overseas for another 100, and we can get maybe 5, 6, or 7 in, put in just $100. We could end up with 900. Rotary Foundation will put 900 in as well. So our 100 can create a lot more. So this is a way we've got to think a little bit outside the box to do some fundraising. It's not just going, to somebody down there and say, can you give us, some money or whatever, or 10 bags of coffee or something we could sell at the Tuesday market. All those little things are good, but these are many different ways that we can get funds into our club. So we don't want a few people doing a lot of work to get some funds in, because that's what's so hard in those people.
How long was it turn around for something like that?
For what?
For
The matching thing?
Yeah.
It takes a while. But it also comes with some caveats. You'll notice that when you pay your fees, and there's certain things we might be doing where they say, these funds are for the foundation. Okay? That money that goes to the foundation gets accumulated and we get credit for it. It's almost like credits for it. And I think it takes 3 years that it's got to be in the foundation doing work that we can get it back again, multifold. So that's how well it works. Okay, so there's the sort of way it works, and it's a subject for a whole another evening. In which case, I think we're going to get somebody who's really
But
experienced.
what I'm saying is not like, okay, we need to buy 7 tables. We need $700 so that we can put 300 and we get a matching grant for the other.
No, it takes a while, and it's for the bigger events. I think the Manchichi project was that was a global grant, wasn't it? The big project like it was done. So you tend to use that for your big projects.
Yeah. Jeff's going to speak to
On
that.
that, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So he's going to talk about that in a minute. So we're a very powerful and very strong organisation. I think there's 1.4 million members that we are all part of this big club. I think there's 46,000 clubs around the world that meet. So it's a big thing, this Rotary. And we can be very proud of being Rotarians, but we have to remember, why are we Rotarians? It's different for everybody. And it's not that you've got to do this and you've got to do this and you've got to do it and we want you to do this. What we want is for you to understand what it is that you would like to do and show us how you can bring not just your skills but your desires into the club, that we can then make the club stronger as well. So it's very much a give and take thing. We can all work together in our club. Yeah. And Randy, for instance, we recognise immediately, and Chris, you're very similar as well. You guys are both very talented with marketing, with your camera work and drone work and so on. And if any time it's important nowadays, it's to market yourself, because there's a lot of competition out there. And we've decided at our latest board meeting how important it is for us all to really look at marketing our club, marketing ourselves, because the more we market ourselves and people understand the good that Rotary can do for the community, but also for ourselves, the better. I mean, we recently saw how good the Rotary Club was with John. It's a club. It's a club. That's the first thing we remember. It's a club where we get together and we have good times. And like any club, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be the yin and the yang. There's going to be, some turmoil. Nobody's always going to get on. But you know what? We can get over that. And getting over that, we'll also get those strengths, how to get over those. And that's why I really enjoyed the post we saw recently that really explained the four-way test. And if we can work in our mind's eye that four-way test in our life all the time, I mean, what better way could there be to really be what we all like to be? So give it some thought. What is it that you would like to do in Rotary? What is it that you would like to get out of Rotary as well? Because you give, but you should also get. And understand what it is that you'd like to get, and tell us. As it was a Kat, I think, said earlier on, or I don't remember who said it, you've got to tell us what we can do for you in your club, because it's not our club, it's your club. And you make it what it is. And so I know we have some spouses here that are not members of the club, but I tell you what, you are also a key cementing structure in this club, because there will be many events where we're going to need your help to do things that we do as well. So don't think, you're not a member, you're not involved. Hell no, you guys get very involved as well. We need you to be involved. We like that as well. So
They're what we call a friend of Rotary.
yeah. So if there's any questions or anything that you'd have about Rotary, I'm not an expert on the bylaws and the rules and the regulations, but I've been in Rotary for many, many, many years, and I've certainly got a lot out of it. Had some amazing meetings at different areas around the world. I've travelled a lot. And I always try and get to a Rotary Club when I do travel. And that's the other thing that's beautiful about Rotary. It's an international organization. No matter where you go in the world, and I've been all over, I mean, India, I've been to many, many meetings in India, and you just get welcomed with open arms.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing feeling how you realize how big Rotary is as an international organization, where no matter where you are, that little Rotary pin will get you in anywhere. And if you're in any country and you have an issue, tell you what, you find a Rotarian, they will bend over backwards to help you. And that's the purpose of this. It's a group, it's a club, we all get together in this thing. So, yeah, it's really cool to have you guys in our Rotary Club, and we hope we can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any questions?
I just want to say, man, there's a guy named Larry Jones who started Save the Children, like in '79, and you know, you're doing this fundraising thing. They gave him a hard time once. They got on TV, said, you know, you're on TV, you're doing these commercials, and 80% of the time you're asking for money. And he said, well, we're going to have a board meeting. We're going to have that fixed. We're not working hard enough.
Interesting idea. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
I'm up.
Yes,
Jeff.
Jeff's going to
Okay.
talk about the foundation and the Chichi project.
I don't know about you guys, but drinking wine, eating pasta, and big dessert, I think y'all should stand up. I was in trouble. Y'all okay? That was a dynamic talk, though. Not to take anything from the speakers, but wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess my role here is to talk a little bit about the foundation, which is kind of like the scaffolding, the money folks for the Rotary International Foundation. And for somebody like me to be talking about finances, you guys are in trouble. And I'm going to do what I can, tell you what I know about it. I know this was, you know, not long after Rotary International was set up. You know, there was some this banking, essentially financing for projects was started not long after, I think 1917, by an endowment. And you know, a recognition that, okay, if we're going to do something in the world, if we're going to get these clubs involved in doing projects, we need to figure out something that makes sense. And that has built up since then. I understand now it's like an over $1 billion funding source, which ran short last year because there was so much demand. There's so many projects going on in the world. And how that impacted us on this Manchichi project, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, at one time, this foundation is through endowments, through dues of all the clubs, various sources, they accumulate all these money that they apportion out to all these projects everywhere. But you know, it's just that there's so many different projects going on in different areas. And as the economic slowdown took place, it just, they ran short, and they let us know that instead of being able to match dollar for dollar certain type of funding that clubs were providing, which is called something you don't need to remember right now, but DDFs, District Designated Funds, they told us, no, we got to drop it down to 80%. 80% is still good stuff, let me tell you. But in the 100,000, really, all in all, we're going to end up spending over 120,000 on this midwife training program in the indigenous area of Nobe Bukle comarca, which are our neighbors. It's our neighboring comarca, a big area, huge area for the indigenous that has horrific health services. Just because of the remoteness of it, and the maternal mortality there is off the charts because of the fact that most of these mothers they're already at high risk for various reasons, including the fact that the average first pregnancy is about 15 years old. But also a host of other reasons. They need to have somebody watching over them, these pregnant mothers, and they get way less prenatal care. Some of them get basically no prenatal care, but they all see the village midwives. So that was the target of this project, is recognizing that, wow, there's a resource that can be tapped in, and you can empower these women to become these super monitors. And watch the health of the people in the community, especially the pregnant women. And why did we know this would work? Because it already has worked in Guatemala, a very successful project that was completed 2019. Just was phenomenally successful, and so successful that it was approved for a second global grant. Yes, that was very much Rotary sponsored, that project there, but the key ingredient is having a partner with a NGO, non-governmental organization called Fowl, which we connected with this same organization led by this dynamic doctor, Miriam Rittmeyer. Some of you have met, probably all of you will get a chance to meet over the next year as she starts coming back to restart this project. And the key is you tap in Rotary. Vernon was talking about how the Rotary wheel concept got started. I didn't know that, but how I see the Rotary wheel now is a hub, because it just allows connectivity. And so the big connectivities that we needed on this was this NGO that knew how to run a project, how to do this, already had the training modules and everything to do this, and had experience at working and doing cultural sensitivity trainings with the doctors on the outside, all the different components that needed to make this a successful project. And they also knew how to write up a project that would be approved by Rotary International Foundation, so that we can get approval and get access to this matching sources of money. So where our club came in on this, it's not like we're a club full of people that are going to go out and go market and train midwives. No. Like I said, we have an implementation organization that's doing this already. What we had to do is everything else. We had to do some logistics, but the big thing is we had to find the money to do this. And our club, of this 120,000, if you look at our club, apart from, we have one member that has a foundation that kicked in some money. Terry Nowak and her husband, they funded the whole first part of this community assessment thing. But the rest of it, I think we came up with about another 15,000 of this, and we had to connect with Rotary clubs across the United States, which we're lucky in that we are composed of members from all over the U.S. and Canada. So we had an automatic intro to all these places. I had never been in a Rotary club before 2019 when I joined. I have now been to Rotary Club meetings, at least 5 other Rotary clubs in the U.S. And just telling them about our club and about our project, and they're interested. They were interested, very interested. So we had other people that had connections in Oregon. We had connections in Canada. Several places in Canada, and in clubs here in Panama also came through. So when you break it down, this $100,000, probably the matching funds that came in from Rotary International may have been about a quarter of that. Wow. Okay. The rest of it was from just clubs and a foundation that were kicking in anywhere from $250 was the smallest, and the biggest was like $10,000. And but you put them all together.
You had a few clubs that got upset at you because we were funded and couldn't take their money, like that one club in Colorado had 30 grand. Another Telluride club.
Yeah. Well,
we got so successful, we had too many clubs asking for face paint. We couldn't take them in.
Well, we have to have a way.
But then,
That's
That's a good problem.
That's a good problem. Time spent, because it's not going to be a 6-week, 6-month project. It's going to be an ongoing project.
It's very time limited. It's a year project. And when you write it up, you have to, the reason that Rotary projects get funded, that people, organizations and individuals and endowments, that they have a lot of confidence when they invest in Rotary projects is because it's a son of a bitch to get a project approved. The due diligence, the amount of work that you have to put in the application project, explaining to the T how every dollar is going to be spent. You have to have the budget ahead of time. You got to show who's going to benefit, how they're going to benefit, and how it's going to, keep going. And I mean, it's done that way for a couple of good reasons. But the good takeaway on that is people that invest in these projects, they know the money isn't going to be wasted. They know that money is going to go exactly to what it needs to be done. There's not going to be any management fee or anything like this at all.
So again, now you mentioned in Guatemala, they're really doing a second part of it, or second round of it, whatever the case.
Right. They applied. It was so successful over there that when they got finished and they wrote up that first project, that the sponsors that sponsored that, that put up the money for this, they said, "Oh, you got to do this again, and make it bigger."
Yeah.
And if you can, see if there's some other country that could use this project. That's where we came in.
There you go.
But yeah, so they wrote up a second project, got it approved, and then the pandemic hit, and they weren't able to start it until last month, and it's off and running.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
That's like all right, so once this is all successfully done, Jeff, do we expect that the government's going to step in and do what they should do?
You don't expect anything from the government.
So then
No.
we're going to be constantly funding this? Or
No. Because you got to look at it from a couple of things. The project, what it's going to leave behind is 6 distinct communities that all the midwives in those communities are going to be trained and are going to be equipped with diagnostics. That's not going to leave. That's not going to disappear. That knowledge of how to do that is there, okay? And the 4 women from the comarca who are Manchichi staff and ambassadors, sharp women, they themselves, that they're not going to lose that information. They're going to still have that. Now, we're hoping that we can expand from there at some point, like they're doing in Guatemala. We don't know that for sure. We're hoping that the MINSA, which is the Panama Health Ministry, who we are working closely with, grinding our teeth on this, we're hoping they're going to recognize, like they have in Guatemala, that this is something that not only saves lives, but it actually ends up making them, MINSA, a lot more effective in what they do, and actually saves money. Because if you've got a bunch of trained midwives in these communities doing things, then they don't have to send in helicopters and emergency people to get these women out that are usually almost or dead by the time they get to the hospitals out. So there's going to be some recognition going on there. It's already happening. So will they pick it up? Probably so. But Panama things to happen very fast. So, as you know, I don't have to tell you that. What else do we need to cover on this?
Just one question, I think, following on from what Sean was saying. The project has to be sustainable. We can't just have it run for 5 years project. You said earlier it's a 1-year project, is that correct? And after a year it expires, it's done, and then it's got to be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Now, it can be repeated, is that right?
It can be repeated in another set of communities.
Right.
The only thing that's going to be needed in these 6 communities is that they're going to have to be resupplied with some supplies that like glucose sticks for your gluconometers, or maybe repairing and or replacing a few, but most of the things that are purchased are things that are, intentionally non-electronic, things that are durable, the old type blood pressure cuffs last forever, stethoscopes, things like that. But yeah, they will do, and that's what in Guatemala, Falrope is doing that with their communities, and they're supplying them with some alcohol and gloves. So they have a budget of about, I think they have a budget of about $1,500 a year that they're continuing to supply these
That's
with.
great. That's awesome.
And so I could see where we may have to come up with some money to do that, to help with resupplying these 6 communities through Asastran, which is a whole different subject. This is a midwife and curandero association in the Comarca, set up by a grant from the Spanish government 25 years ago. So we're also trying to build up that organization as an organization to be able to get those kind of funding to keep these kind of things going. So there's a lot of different elements to this, and it's been darn interesting. You'll get to know a little bit more about the culture and the Nyobe Bugle at the next Rotary meeting, because we're having a speaker, Professor Graciela Luz Jolie, who's an expert in this, and as well I'm inviting the 2 leaders of the Manchichi team, Silvia Salina and Patricia Mendoza, to come and be at that meeting as well, and so I'm sure we'll be talking about Manchichi at that meeting as well. But yeah, I think that's that kind of covers it as briefly as I can.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I promise I won't talk very long.
I'm just going to represent 2 committees that are not represented here, then we'll let John finish up. One is the Education Committee, and they have very, very important jobs of handing out scholarships to needy students, and they have some needs of people that can be bilingual, because they have to interview the students to see if they qualify for it. They give up, I think they give away 10 scholarships a year.
We have 19 now.
Wow.
We have
Wow.
19 that applied.
We had 94 and 10 new ones.
Ooh,
We have
yeah.
19 total.
Okay. So they have some needs in their committee. If you are bilingual and you'd like to work with them, James Bradley said to tell you it's the most fun committee that there is, because they work with the children. And they are so grateful to be considered for scholarships. And also, sometimes we supply them with backpacks and school supplies. And we give them, there's a Rotary Young Leadership Award that's given out every year. And I think Ron has been working with the Los Broncos baseball team to
Yes.
help
Academy,
encourage them
Los
to,
Broncos Academy.
it's a young people's organization, and they are learning social skills and teamwork, and that's really what that's all about. So that's what that committee is all about. And then we have the Projects Services Committee, which is Ron Foss, and Sean is on that committee, yes. And they are working on the Casa Hogar Trisker, which that we talk about all the time. And that's another project that we're very proud that we've almost finished. And they are so thankful and grateful that we are participating and getting some things done there. The Parque Amistad picnic area as one of their projects. And then on the list here needs to be added the Bobby McGinn potable water project, which is the getting clean water to the schools. And we're proud that we've gotten a lot of that going. Tony and Ron have been working really hard to assess the schools.
Once school is done, there were 6 more back here. We're going to go over a financial statement. Not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to run you through it. Display.
And I still can't read it.
First statement I'm going to make is to Sean. Your membership number is 113-23542, just like on this sheet. I went on to the dashboard this afternoon, confirmed that is the number, so I don't know where you're getting that other number from, Sean.
I can't log in with the number, and the number that I've got to log on for with my name and the emails.
Okay, well then, I'll try logging on for you.
Okay?
And then maybe if I have to talk to Rotary International. And his other assistant is also speaks English as well. So we've got a great relationship there. It took time to evolve this, and what I mean by that is that the financials weren't coming out on the 10th, they were coming out a month later. But we were going through so many changes, getting them used to this format was important, and we're at that point now where they're fairly consistent. Up to this month in April, I was expecting the March financial on the 10th, it didn't happen, so I just emailed them asking, okay, now what? But we are getting out good financials, they're getting much more accurate. What's different about this is on the back page of the sheet I gave you, you're going to see 3 different categories: programs, projects, and fundraising. Each one of these categories has budgeted expenses. You don't necessarily see an income. When you do see an income, that money is in a different report, which you do get monthly, which is called a temporary restricted net assets. That's where we put all the money we raise for projects into specific categories. When we're going to actually spend that money is transferred into one of these categories under their projects so that it negates expenses. In other words, we raise the money based upon budgets. Actual expenses we know we have to spend. We try to zero out. So we have more income coming in, we know that. From the way it looks, I think by at least in the next few months, we'll probably be at even. Earlier we were ahead of ourselves, so it's just hard to say where we're at. But that's another reason to keep raising the membership drive we have, because part of that income comes into the club and that helps to pay for these expenses. So I don't want to say much more about this because if you look at it, it should be easy to read. If you don't understand certain things, I'll be happy to answer those questions now, or you can talk to me later.
John, for those of us who are financially report challenged, could you just make just a succinct statement? Are our finances solid, weak? What?
Okay, well,
I think we're on budget, pretty good.
yeah, year-to-date income, we're over budget 4,319. Okay,
That's a good thing.
Great job.
expenses, year-to-date actual is 3,824. So yes, we're over budget by 2,755. But I just told you we're over budget income by 4,000. So
that's $2K net.
yeah, we're
That's
okay.
good.
It's okay.
That's what you're looking at is where are we at for the month and then year-to-date. Year-to-date is a telling figure. So we're fine.
Okay. That's all we want to do.
What we started in Joe's term, which was important, is Betty, Joe, and I were meeting every Friday on Zoom or WhatsApp, is we actually did a budget. We had to do for the first time a 5-year strategic plan, a business plan, and you always do every year your goals. But some things were new. We had them all done so that by July 1, when Joe took over, we presented all of this, including all the changes that Betty helped us do with the bylaws, policies, procedures, constitution. It was all sent to the club. It was the first time ever because the way it worked in the past, it didn't run like a business at all. It operated like a good old boys club.
Run like a club.
You know, July 1 starts, you're lucky if you get your budget 3 to 4 months from now. How do you run a club without a budget? Projects, expenses? I mean, I was abhorred with what I saw.
What happens if you don't comply to Rotary International? Do they investigate you or something? I mean, what happens?
No.
You just don't get any funding when you ask for something, or
Well, what are you going to ask for?
are they going
Little
to
grant?
solve your
District grant? That's the kind of funding you ask for.
I know. Well, if you're not complying with what they think you should do, what do? Shut you down?
They don't really investigate it. The only
I was
way
gonna say,
they would,
if they're looking at this, they'll be impressed.
the only way they're gonna investigate it, because we don't have to submit these to Rotary International, is if there is a complaint registered with Rotary International about our club, then they're gonna investigate and ask why, what's going on. We've never had a complaint registered against our club.
Yeah, I think it would go more local. It would go to the district governor. I mean, there's a whole hierarchy.
There's a district governor, which is Gerardo Lorenzen. He's in San Jose, Costa Rica. Next year, the district governor is coming out of San Salvador, I believe. And Vern and I had a chance to meet him recently at a luncheon. And then the following year, 24-25, is going to be Antonio Singh out of the David Club. The year before this, it was Omar Sarud out of the David Club. So they're a pretty powerful, politically connected club. And that's why we've been building relationships with them. I've been working real hard on it all year. It's paying off. We're going to build some relationships and bridges we've never
Now,
had before.
is the district Central America?
No. It's only, I think,
4 countries.
4 countries, or 5, I thought. We have a district that, is small.
Right.
There's 57 clubs in it. Last year in the June Toma, we were told that we ranked number 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, out of all the clubs.
This year, number 1.
That's partly because we brought on 20 new members. We had started the Monchichi project and a lot of other things. We just went from the cellar right on up. And we want to keep doing that. Okay? But when I'm talking about a business plan, around May of last year, I met with Joe and I started my budget, goals, business plan, strategic plan. You're always moving ahead one year. So the idea is from now on, July 1, we always start running. We're not going to crawl, start walking. By the time you start running, you only have a couple months left in your term, and you've just wasted it. So what we're doing now with Vernon, in May, we're going to go through all this, get all of this done. When he takes over July 1, it'll be presented to the club. You're going to have a plan every year on July 1. You get the vote on it, we get to move ahead.
No partying in May, Vernon.
Or June. So essentially, this is what this is about. It's a roadmap for a club. It tells us if we're working it okay or not. Before I did this, there was no way to really tell where we stood. Joe knew, but he's got an accounting background. I have an accounting background, but I'm not an accountant. I could not do a financial from scratch, but I can read them. I can tear them apart. I can code bills. I can do the income. I can do collections. I can do all of that, which is basically what our bookkeeper does now. Okay? Any questions?
You have 4 minutes to talk about the membership committee.
Okay. Well, the membership committee is made up of me and myself and I.
That's not true.
The royal we?
I've asked Doug Avery to sit on the committee now. He was a membership chair in his club at Telluride for 7 years in a row. 3 years on a district committee. But he really doesn't want to do it anymore. He's there as a consultant to me. He doesn't really get involved in any of this process at all. I asked Tim Zilmer to sit on. Tim, being a past president, was also involved in a lot of new candidates. But again, he doesn't really contribute much. So trying to get people to help is hard. This is a networking business. I know how to network. I've been doing it for 50 years, so that's why it's easy for me. The networking is with members and other people.
Everybody's
Like
part of
Jeff,
the membership.
Sean, Dallas,
Membership
Vernon,
committee.
Betty, Kat, Al. I mean, all of us are doing this. It's just you're talking to friends and you're thinking of people that might fit what we're looking for. Okay? We've been phenomenally lucky in the last few years to bring in a lot of candidates that have got phenomenal backgrounds that we never had before. We're doing things now we could never have contemplated 2 years ago. Just, Chris, like your photograph business, your drones, same thing that Randy's doing. We didn't have that. Trying to do this publicity stuff, we didn't have the talent. Now we do. I'm just excited and thrilled to death that we're able to progress as much as we're doing right now. By the way, he's on your committee if you didn't know that.
Hey, buddy.
He needs to be on membership too.
But, I'm looking for people to help me on membership if they want to. What it's all about is helping to look for members. The harder part is once you found that candidate and they decide they want to be a member, they get the application. The next step is getting a resume and interviewing. That's what takes so much time, is the interview, writing it up. I send it to the candidate. I want to make sure what I just did is virtually perfect before it goes to the board, because that's the board's impression. Next, it goes to the entire club. So that's the critical element of being a...
Well, some of the best people are the hardest ones to convince because they don't want to fail. They want to be able to contribute at the level they command from themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dealing with that right now, you know, and it's just, you've got to be a smooth operator and explain to them, no, you have many things to contribute. And maybe it isn't always your time because you're so busy. But it's a quality person, and I'm really looking for more Panamanian people too.
Yes.
Well, we are
That's
too.
what's going to jump us to the top.
We are. The time you put in, as Betty said, it's one meeting a month. Okay? There's another element she had mentioned, and I use it by advantage because when we had a president that I didn't like, I wasn't able to come to meetings because they set the meeting time at 4 p.m. and I start working with my U.S. business at 3. And Vernon does the same thing. So the way I got around it is I went and did the Tuesday market, you know, like 3-4 days a month. And that wasn't just a 1 hour meeting. I was there at maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, 11 noon, so there's 3-4 hours. I put more time in than what you do at a club. I was making money for the club. I was building relationships for club, new members. That counted to me more than anything else I could have done for the club. So it was easy for me to have my hours made up like that, you know, for a whole month. So you can do various things and make up your time real easy. And we can help you do that. You know, if you're having trouble because you're running your business, Jeff, and you need to figure out how to help it.
To myself, I'm thinking about a
I'm just saying.
recruit that I really wanted.
I know.
Yeah, and you know who it is.
Sure.
But my point is, we don't want to lose you because you are the smoothest, softest guy.
But that's how you need people to be.
Feeding them to you at the right point in time. That's the way. I think that's what got me.
Well, this thing has ups and downs and lows.
Yeah.
And last month or so, I didn't have much going on, but I had a lot of problems. And I just interviewed Karen Schwartz after our last meeting. Like I interviewed Chris after one of the meetings, and sent her interview today. Got one more reference to come in, her ID, and then boom, she'll go to the board probably on Monday. And that's a 1-day process. Then it's 7 days to go to the whole club. And the timing is crucial for me because it has to be done just before the next meeting. And sometimes I've had it just done the day before. And I know I have coming up is I've got 2 couples that have committed to join them with applications. And another gentleman asked for an app at the last meeting. So there's potentially 5 in May with at least another 5 potentials out there, your candidate and others.
Keep going. Yeah.
So I think we're going to get to the 50, and Dallas has got a zillion more.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of people that are getting ready to join, but they're already members somewhere else. How does that work for our
Members of what?
of Rotary?
Yeah,
They're just
You can
transferring.
transfer.
Yeah, they can transfer their membership. That's easy. They can't be a Rotarian of 2 clubs, though.
No, they're moving here and retiring here.
If they retiring here, then what they do is they resign from that club. But they got to make sure that all their tenure, they notify Rotary International that they're transferring so the tenure is kept there and they don't lose it. It counts with us when it's
You can
transferred.
take care of that. I'll introduce you.
They have to be in good standing also.
That's fine. You're giving kudos.
At one time, I was the president. This year, Gisela had to go in San Diego for 7 weeks. I became the treasurer. And then the other thing is Martin Sempre Castillo took on the executive secretary position because the person didn't resign. He didn't want to do any work, though, because he's an attorney, he's busy. But he already had signatory authority on all our accounts and to sign documents that are necessary to be filed with the Panamanian government. So I stepped in doing that. And so when we ran for offices, I was going to run VP, but nobody wanted exec secretary. So I said I'd do it because I'm already doing it. I already know how to do all that. So it's easy to step into it. And then James Bradley took up the VP position. So we've got a full house this time because most of the times there's no VP. And Tony Royal will be the president-elect. When Tony's president, I think James Bradley will be the president-elect. So another thing we're going to be doing is working in advance with all of our members, recruiting and trying to find the next set of officers so that we have talent going in. Our problem when we were an older, smaller club,
They were on a little table there, and John used
most of the people wanted to go back to the woods. They didn't want to do anything anymore. It was hard to find people to lead the club. I didn't plan on being president, but I am. But I've been doing this for years. I've had, 4 of my own companies. I'm used to running organizations. I'm used to stepping in with nothing to work with and figuring it out. So for me, it's a challenge, but it's not hard to do.
That was all because you should have